Blake, do you want to come over? I'm going to turn off that front one for me, Lance. All right, that's not too bad. Can you see us okay?
I can see 3 people.
Yes, and me over here.
Yeah.
I have some more in the room, but these are the students who are going to kind of facilitate the interview. What's happened so far is I have 6 sections of extended learning program, and the 6 sections did research together and collaborated on some background information about the Seabees and about Djibouti. And from that, they've submitted questions. So all 6 sections submitted questions that these 3 are going to ask, and then others who come in and out of the room might ask some questions informally too.
Okay.
All right, so this is the second period, day 2 ELP class. On the screen, we have Matthew Baird. He is a lieutenant commander with the U.S. Navy. He's currently stationed in Djibouti in Africa and going to talk with these students about what he does and what they're curious about learning. Lance, feel free to have a seat if you want to. When you ask a question, say your name and what grade you're in. Introduce yourself a little bit too. Good? Okay.
So I'm Tessa. I'm a junior here. And what is your most...
Sorry, what was your name?
Tessa.
Tessa, okay.
Yeah. So what was your most rewarding part of your line of work?
Most rewarding part of my line of work? Actually, I can name quite a few things. So with my job, I get the opportunity to do some construction projects in some very poor areas of the world. And those projects include clinics, schools, orphanages, things like that. And just knowing that, I was part of something that will affect generations to come in a place that I may not ever visit again. That's pretty rewarding right there. Another thing is just, there's a certain, a different type of satisfaction when you get to lead some of the best men and women from this country into some of the not so nice places that do exist in this world. So just having that opportunity as well, knowing that, I've been entrusted for their well-being to get them to do what they need to do and then to get them back home safely, that's pretty satisfying as well.
I'm Kayla. I'm a junior. Have you ever had to directly engage or interact with terrorism?
I'm sorry, what was that?
Have you ever had to directly engage or interact with terrorism?
With terrorism, yes. So I've done 4 deployments to Afghanistan, and all the things that get enrolled with that. I am a combat veteran. Outside of that, that's probably about all the more I want to answer that question.
My name's Blake. I'm a senior. Why are construction battalions split across different missions? We noticed that NMCB1 was in multiple locations, working several different projects.
Yes, so we are extremely high in demand. So there are only 6 active duty battalions, and obviously there are things in Africa that people want us to do. There are things in Europe people want us to do. There are things around the Pacific Rim that people want us to do. And at the same time, we only deploy for 6 months out of the year, and then we're home for a 12-month stretch. So we're 6 out, 12 in. That's the active duty units. That's a regular rotation. And one battalion only has roughly 500 people in it. So you kind of do the math. That's a lot of work that we kind of get stretched in on. So so right now in CD1, we're stretched across 3 different more than 3 different continents. We're in Africa, we're in Europe, we're in the Pacific, out of Guam, out of some smaller islands out of there, and still got folks back in Gulfport yet, because I think back there as well. And that's pretty typical. Very rarely do you get an entire battalion that gets deployed to one site and, deploy as a whole.
What does your daily routine look like?
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you say.
Your daily routine, what does it look like?
My daily routine? So my daily routine is actually really boring. I'll be honest. I wish I was out doing, out in the field doing more stuff. But my day starts at 5:30 in the morning. I go work out with the troops I have here. Get done with that after about an hour and a half. Get cleaned up, and then I'm in my office probably from 7 o'clock until anywhere from 8, 9 o'clock at night. And my office is a cramped little steel shipping container with no windows, no TV. Yeah, it's more or less a jail cell, but amounts to that.
Is that where you're at now? Is in your office?
No, this is my room, but my office doesn't look much different.
Yeah, Blake was actually wondering when he was doing some research if where you guys were is one of the places that pretty much works out of shipping containers.
It is.
Fun.
No, it's my office is a shipping container, and it's a classified storage area, so that means I don't get any windows, get any cell phones. Yeah, it's pretty bare minimum. But between it doesn't seem like much, but just little things just pile up, and you got 90 people out working around a couple different countries, and you gotta make sure they have what they need as far as equipment. Doing everything in Africa is tough. The weather's horrid. It's hot. It's humid, sticky. Everyone's that's no fun. It's we're in the middle of the desert for the most part, and just the area we're in is just huge. So so I got to transport like heavy construction equipment, stuff that can't go on planes. Roughly the distance from San Francisco to Houston on a regular basis on a dirt road at best. So just just things like that. So it takes a lot of coordination and effort to get the folks that are farther downrange what they need, keep them working, keep them happy for Saturday's community.
So if someone were to become a Seabee, what might their day look like?
So it could be any number of things. So typically, for the most part, if you're like your classical Seabee day would be working on a construction site. So if you look out at some of your construction sites and around town or anything like that, it's the exact same thing. We build the same things everyone back home builds. It's just not necessarily in nice places or in places where that's easy to get to. So we got plumbers, we got electricians, we got equipment operators, running the heavy construction equipment. We have mechanics that work on that equipment. We have our own land surveyors, and then we have teams that do the project planning and estimating. So figuring out how much building material and figuring out how long things take, just tracking and managing the construction process itself. I don't know if any of you are looking into what you want to do when you college, but there's actual bachelor's degrees in construction management, construction engineering. So there's it's not just getting a bunch of people, getting some block and mortar, and then going and building a house out in the middle of nowhere. There's a lot more to it than that. There's a lot of logistics involved, so we make it happen.
How does the government decide where you guys need to go work?
So that's kind of a complicated process. So each geographical area of the world, there's a high-ranking general or admiral called a combatant commander. So there are, I think there are 7 combatant commanders right now. And those 7 geographical areas are constantly in a tug of war to get our services to do work in their areas. So that's kind of so basically they're trying to get what we want, what we have, and then our, like our unit commanders back in the United States, they have to kind of pick and choose which one's, most important based off of, what's going on. So we actually, there are Seabees in South America, there are Seabees in Africa, like I said, there's Seabees on the Pacific Rim, Seabees in Asia, Japan. I think Africa you think Australia is the only continent right now where there's no Seabee station I can think of.
What's the biggest project you've helped work on?
That helped work on?
Yeah.
As a Seabee or as some of my other capacities I've done in the Navy?
Either or.
Either or. So probably as a Seabee, I got some pictures of the clinic we're working on right now. That's roughly it's just over $1 million for that clinic, which in construction terms isn't too much. But as far as in general, I've worked on I used to live in Rota, Spain, and I was a construction manager out there. And we built pretty much it's just a giant hangar that receives air cargo, and that was north of $45 million, that one project.
What different cultures have you experienced during your time in the military?
No, geez. So I'll just I'll go over the places I've been to. I've been to Okinawa. I've been to Seychelles, Africa, which is it's in Africa, but it's an island. It's an island out in the Indian Ocean. I've been to Guam. Obviously, just different cultures around the U.S. that I've got to experience. I don't know if you've gotten chances, travel outside of Iowa, but just even in the states around there, culture changes quite a bit. Where was I? Lost track of my point.
Guam.
Guam, thank you. So after Guam, I lived down in the southern United States for a few years. Obviously, out in Afghanistan a few times, Kuwait, Iraq. Lived in Spain for a couple of years, and I was in Western Africa in the Congo for about a month or so, and now I'm in Eastern Africa, Djibouti.
Weren't you in Germany for a little while too?
Just taking classes though.
Okay.
Now, their culture isn't too much different. They just speak a different language. It looks just like home there.
Do you need to know the natively spoken language to facilitate a Seabee's task?
It helps. So I've actually I've had a few different languages trained in my head that I've long since forgotten. But when I lived in Spain, in Rota, Spain, I went to about 6 weeks of intensive Spanish language classes, and picked up some Spanish there just so I could facilitate conversations with the private contractors that work out in town that were Spanish local nationals. Not Spanish, yeah, Spanish. So I did learn some Spanish, and then I also had to learn some Pashtun, which is a language that they speak in Afghanistan. But outside of that, myself personally have not taken any language courses outside of that, but there are folks that do go to language schools and pick up some languages to help them out where they're going.
What caused your interest in the Navy for an engineering or construction-based position?
All right, so I'll kind of back this up to when your guys' age. So when I was in high school, I was all hyped up to go to the Air Force Academy, just because mostly they had to do with financial concerns. I just didn't want to have to worry about paying for college. It's like, oh, sweet, Air Force Academy, they're free. I got pretty decent grades. I used to sit in the seats you guys are sitting in right now. I was on, right over the teacher there. And so I started going through the process, got up to the point where I had to schedule an interview with one of our senators from South Dakota. And I realized, well, maybe this isn't quite for me. So I kind of backed out of that. And I was like, well, I can always go ROTC. So I thought, by that time, I knew I was going to go to Iowa State for my degree. And so I tried going to do the ROTC thing. Didn't get picked up for it, but I still had a fascination with flying. I was like, okay, I really want to fly. So maybe maybe I will try the Navy thing. I've been getting some flyers from the Navy, so maybe I try that. So at that point in time, I was probably about a freshman in college. And I was all psyched up to be a Navy pilot. And then what turned me off of that, I took a class called kinetics, which is basically, studying the science of motion. And I really got to grasp what it took to launch an airplane off a moving boat and to land that airplane on the same boat. And that pretty much killed any idea of me wanting to fly. So I abandoned that. So I was like, okay, well maybe I just won't do it. And then finally the recruiter got me, and I said, well, what about at that time I was from engineering. He said, well, I got this thing called the civil engineer report, and kind of went into it a little bit with CBC, whatever. Kind of I did the research, kind of like what you guys did for what was the internet at that point in time, and. So I thought, okay, I know that could be all right. And then they had a program at that point in time so I enlisted right away, and all I had to do was go to school for finish out my degree. So I was actually enlisted in the Navy 2.5 years, my last 2.5 years of college. And they gave me, I got a paycheck for being in the Navy. I was working up time and grade, and then I was pretty much guaranteed a job right out of college. So I was like, all right, that sounds like a pretty good idea. I can do this for. Do that. My minimum commitment was 4 years active duty, 4 years reserve after that. I was like, yeah, that's pretty good. That's 4 years of a guaranteed job coming out of college. The job market at that point in time was super great. So I was like, it's a good paycheck. It'll give me a chance to get on my feet after getting out of college and get on my own. And almost 20 years later, here I am. So it turned out to be a little bit more than just a 4-year stint in my life.
What kind of cultural experience have you come across?
What kind of cultural experiences?
Yeah.
I guess the ones that kind of come to mind are just a lot of the subtle differences. So obviously, my deployments to the Mideast and even here to the point, it's a heavy Muslim religious area. So just some of the cultural differences as far as that goes, like some of the minor gestures that we kind of take for granted can actually be insulting to people in other parts of the world, even though you're not trying to be. So there's things like that, and just kind of just slow them down. We as Americans, we live a pretty high paced life. Like we're always on the go, always on, going. And a lot of other places around the world, that's not the case. So when I'm in meetings, especially this is really big in Afghanistan, they have to slow down for. So before they do any business, the first thing they do is they sit down around some tea. If they have any kind of snacks, they'll do that, and they'll just sit and chit chat for small talk for hours on end before we visit with them. And then that's just the norm. So there's lots of things like that. Can't really wrap it up too much into individual circumstances and like to do forever. Just like the minor things that are different around the world, just for fun experience.
What was the prerequisite for joining the Seabees, if there was one?
What was that?
What's the prerequisite for joining the Seabees?
So there's two different routes. You can either go officers or you can go enlisted. Basically, the only difference is for officers, you need a college degree to go enlisted. You just go, right out of high school. If you want to join the Navy, you can do it. You can go enlisted, and you don't need any particular background. Are they still making you guys take the ASVAB?
They don't have to, but it is an option that they can take.
Okay. So for you guys, I'm sure you probably you end up taking the ASVAB where you guys are coming from, your background. You could probably show up and go through that test in 30 minutes and probably ace the thing. So enlisted wise, doesn't take much of any background. On the officer wise, you need an engineering or some kind of like construction or engineering science background. So my degree is in mechanical engineering, and so my education actually has nothing to do with construction whatsoever. But it's just the technical background that they want you to have, just some things to do. Because the problems we come up against, see, some of them are quite technical. You got to have the just that problem solving background to navigate through some of that stuff.
How adaptable do you have to be while you're on active duty?
How adaptable?
Yeah.
Extremely. I guess one of the kind of the military phrases that I can actually utter in this venue is
Thank you.
which is always flexible. You guys know what dumpy is?
You guys know what dumpy is?
For my
All
dad.
right, that's something you can look up as dumpy. Semper is a Latin word for always, so semper dumpy means always flexible. Just because things never go the way you plan. Like you can plan and plan and plan, and then you actually go to execute, and after 5 minutes, it just completely turns sideways on you. You're kind of shooting from the hip anyway. Flexibility. Having some kind of endurance and resilience is a definite must.
Yeah, I thought it was kind of interesting that you and I have been working on organizing this call for a couple of months now. And yesterday you were like, I have to go out beforehand now, and we might have to table it. It's like, no problem.
Yeah, that's the reason why I'm not. Normally I would do wear a uniform for work, but I just got off a plane about an hour ago now. I just got off a plane that was flying around all day today. And like I said, things kind of go wrong, and I was kind of cutting it close once the schedule popped. And there's a trip I've been trying to make probably for about 3 months now since I've been here. So I had to kind of take advantage of it when it came to me. But yeah, we look like we got everything together, but a lot of times we're just kind of going with the flow.
What has been your favorite country to visit and why?
I would say Spain. So like I said, I got the opportunity to live in Spain for a couple of years, and what I like probably the most about just how friendly and accommodating the people were. So obviously the majority of people who live in Spain don't speak that much English. They spoke a little bit where we were at just because of the the U.S. military presence that was there. So most of them were kind of picked it up over the years. That base has been there for a little while. But just no matter where we went, they were always super friendly. Willing to let us in. We could, my wife and I, we got to go out with her. We only had my daughter at the time, and you can take them out to a restaurant. The kid can be screaming, crying their head off. Things that were kind of taboo back home, but over there they're like, oh, no worries. And you look around, there's a whole bunch of other parents and their kids crying. And that's just the way it was. It's just a super family friendly atmosphere. And then, even if you didn't have a family, if you're, single and one, kind of like a nighttime city life, you can go and have that as well. Just really, really laid back. Like I said, a little bit slower pace than what we used to back home. That was a good time. We all enjoyed that.
What happens if you don't finish your construction project?
What happens? That depends. So a lot of times with 6-month appointments, that's not very long at all to do some of the bigger projects. So we do have a process where we do turn over projects from one unit that's leaving to the incoming unit, and that's just something that's kind of great in our culture. So we do it every 6 months for the most part, every time we deploy. This deployment I'm on right now is a little bit different because we're not getting backfilled by Seabees. We're getting backfilled by Army engineering unit. And the clinic we're actually working on, we've been working on that. The Seabees have been working on it for about 5 years. And I was pretty much told that you're not coming home until it's done. So that was pretty motivating. And then also, since we're not getting backfilled by the Army, we have to haul all of our construction equipment it's actually going back to go to Spain. And so there's a long, convoluted process of getting pretty much 70 pieces of heavy construction equipment onto a ship and then, ship it out of here. And that's not an easy process either. And that was the other thing I was pretty much told was like, you're not going home until your equipment's back out of here either. So So normally, yeah, you turn that stuff over, but every once in a while you have a few things hung over your head, and you don't get to go home until the job's done. Luckily, I don't think I'll make it this year, so not good.
How difficult is it for you to balance work for the government and providing a safe environment for the people of Djibouti?
So balancing work for the government and the safe environment of Djibouti, I would say it's not that bad. So working outside of camp here, yeah, it's kind of it's a poor area. There's some crime, but as far as danger to us, really isn't too much. I wouldn't say it's much worse than like it's probably like working in a bad part of Des Moines during the day. Probably be the worst that we ever see. So it's not too terrible, all things considered. And for the most part, most of the locals are happy for what we're providing. So like I said, we're building a clinic. The reason why we're building a clinic is there are pretty much no hospital facilities out in some of the smaller villages. So the clinic we're building is specifically designed for mothers giving birth. Because there's around here infant mortality is extremely high. When you're trying to have children out in the middle of nowhere, there's nothing around you. It's just a fact of life. And so the service we're providing kind of, I wouldn't say it protects us, but it kind of, people are aware of what we're doing and they kind of leave us alone, and they're actually quite helpful in that part. So.
What would be your advice to anyone considering joining the military?
Just to first one is keep your options open, and keep your options open. Research. Did the first thing. So you may think you know what you want to do, but there's a lot of cool jobs you can do in the military. So try to line up what jobs are out there with what interests you, and what makes you what really you think would make you get up in the morning. These big things. And then the other thing is if you are for people your age, just kind of figure out what you want to do for higher education. If you feel like that college is definitely your future, I would recommend you go to college first and see what's available after that. If you're lukewarm going to school after high school, or you definitely don't want to, then maybe this you want some definite order in your life, that would be a good way to go.
Do you guys ever get like free days just out of work to do what you want?
You do 3 days. Oh, free days?
Yeah.
Yeah. So right now we're off every Sunday, and then Sundays major holidays, so it's, Christmas, Thanksgiving would be days off, and then every once in a while I'll give them an off Saturday too, because we're working really hard out here. It wears on you, it burns you out. So yeah, we'll get our regular work days and our weekends, so regular weekends. Problem is, there isn't a whole lot to do around here when you have no work.
You can go dig in the dirt.
Yeah. Pretty much my off days being just go to the office wearing civilian clothes versus my uniforms.
What are the living conditions like in Djibouti for officers and enlisted men?
Well, you're pretty much looking at them, so here, let me around, you can see my humble abode. Alright, make sure I don't plug my here. Alright, so
Hey, it's
there's
a
my
window.
door. There's my window with my lovely towel as a curtain. Cold here. There's my clock. There's a metal locker with a bunch of stuff that's not mine in it. There's my wardrobe. Yeah, see that? They do have a uniform that's hanging off there. There's my messy bed. So that's proof that not everyone in the military makes their bed. That's a misnomer. That's my bathroom back there. That's it.
Fancy.
So I have, my room is 20 feet long by 8 feet wide.
I'm guessing an enlisted man probably does not have his own bathroom or even his own bedroom.
They have their own bedrooms. They usually, two people usually share one bath.
That's not too bad. I was expecting barracks and dorm style living.
No, they have sometimes it is worse than that, but here it's actually not too bad. And they're actually, so the U.S. is establishing more of a permanent presence here. So actually like the mid-level enlisted have a lot nicer living conditions than I do. They just built two brand new barracks. They're kind of like pod style living arrangements, so they have like a central common area, like your living room or whatever. They each have their own bedroom, and then there's two bedrooms that share one bathroom. There'll be like there's four individuals share that central common area, and then they'll share one bathroom with the other person in that little pod, I guess. All that's been built in the past 2 years.
Can you adjust your screen back down again a little bit? There you go. Your face got really dark there. That's better.
I was looking at you guys, not myself.
What has been your favorite story from your years in the military?
Favorite stories in the military?
That you can share with high schoolers.
That's not the same. It's actually, yeah. So,
way too hard.
yeah, I guess it's pretty much the common thing. It's not necessarily things we did, while we were working. It's just, things that happen in the off time. You make a lot of good close friends. Go nowhere, kind of living in the suck. So you make a lot of tight knit friendships. I mean, there are some folks that I really honestly only lived with for 3 or 4 months, and those 3 or 4 months of interaction turn into lifelong friends. So just the interaction you have with people, the things that happen in the off time, just even when you're working really hard, next to somebody. That's probably the most memorable things I could probably say.
Is that all of the questions? All right. Did you have anything you wanted specifically to share with these guys that you haven't had a chance to yet?
Let me see. I jotted down some notes when I was on the airplane. Let's see if there's anything. Well, I guess. So, when you guys were doing your research, did you get into any of the history of the Seabees?
Just a little bit.
Yeah.
Just a little bit. Okay. So I'll just kind of go into pretty much why we were created. So, so the Seabees were established during World War II, and at that time, I don't know how good your history is back in that area. But there was a lot of in the Pacific theater. There was a lot of island hopping, fighting the Japanese back then. And so when you're the force trying to, the U.S. forces were trying to push their way to Japan, going island by island, and when they, it's kind of hard to get when you get to an island, you can't really run anything out of there because you have to build everything brand new. Because you probably just bombed the bejeepers out of it, trying to fight to get on the island in the first place. So what they originally had to do was have civilian contractors come in and try to repair the facilities or build new facilities out of the jungle or whatever island they're on, like airfields, refueling depots for the battleships, things of that nature. And it was not always a good thing to have private citizens out there working because you're in a war zone. A lot of times when you take over an island, whoever you took that island from, they're going to want it back, and they're going to do whatever they can to get it back. So there's just inherently having private citizens in a war zone presented its own challenges. So Admiral Ben Morrell, founder of Seabees, came up with the idea of our organization, where it was pretty much a military construction company, for lack of better terms. And so on March 5th, 1942, the Seabees were established, and 10 civil engineer corps officers of the Navy were tasked to command those initial Seabee units. And I'll let you guys kind of go on the rest of the history of that. But pretty much since then, we've been deployed around the world more or less every day since then up to now. There has been any point in time where we haven't been deployed somewhere, whether it's been peacetime or wartime or out doing something somewhere. So, that's kind of the history real quick. I won't worry too much about that. Other than that, I do have I think you can share on this thing. I got a few pictures of my sharing with you guys.
Yeah, there's an option where you can share your computer.
Oh, here you go. Okay. Here you go. All right. All right. All right. You guys see that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so this picture is one of my troops. This is kind of the area that we're building the clinic in. Picture here, you can't really see the clinic, but we'll get some more pictures of that. Kind of in. So this is the Djibouti military compound back here in the upper left-hand corner. Now these are just some local villagers that one of my guys just brings some. I think he got some magazines or something like that from back home, and looks like he got some little flip flops too there. So every once in a while we get some terror packs or whatever that we share with the locals there, just to kind of just spread some goodwill and just have some positive interaction with the people we're helping. Actually, with these guys, every Thursday night we have soccer is real big in Djibouti. So every Thursday night my troops out there will have a soccer match after work with the locals there out in the village. This is just a picture, it's a picture of us interacting with two of them. So this is looking through the window of one of our trucks. This is what the countryside looks like. So they are rich in rocks and not much else.
Yeah, not much corn or beans there, huh?
No. That's kind of it there. Oh, so this is another area that we worked on. So we do have, other than vertical construction like buildings, we also do road construction and site work. So when this is going on, that's actually a landing craft air cushion or LCAC that the Navy ships use to do shore landings for the Marine Corps. So the Marines were doing an exercise and they needed some assistance doing some work on the beach there. So we went in and I snapped this picture of them driving on the beach with the LCACs. Now I don't get to see that very often, so I thought that's
So,
cool.
so can you give us a sense of the scale of that? It's really hard to tell. Like, what's the scale?
How big that is?
Like, yeah, like what's the little things in the front to give us a little bit of an idea?
I don't know what that is right there, but just kind of give you a scale of how big these things are. You could almost fit two 40-foot trailers side by side in the loading bay for those things. Those things are massive.
Okay.
So picture two tractor trailers side by side, and that fits inside of that thing. But it hauls quite a bit of stuff. That's just the road. That's actually the road we were working on to improve. It's not much other than it's actually an old dried up riverbed. They don't get rain where we're at. I think they said it gets about 5 inches a year for rain.
What kind of
So
trees?
What kind of
trees are
those
those?
old dried up riverbeds. This is just the road we were working on after we were done with it.
What kind of trees are those? Like umbrella-looking trees?
I don't know actually.
They almost look like Joshua trees.
Yeah, no, they don't get real big. Back to them. Yeah, I don't know what kind of trees those are. That's actually a pretty big one compared to all the other ones because they're they get some water there.
Yeah.
Like I said, those are camels, so they have both domesticated and wild camels running around here. As far as animals go, there isn't much. They have camels, they have little gazelle-looking things. I don't know what they're called. And they have snakes and mongooses, and they have baboons, and that's about all I've seen for animals that, other than, your typical cats and dogs and goats. Another picture.
Kind of reminds me of Mars.
Yes! That is the general consensus that, yes, if you landed on Mars, it would look a lot like this, other than there are actually features. But just kind of imagine how expansive this is. Like I said, you can kind of drive the distance you can envision driving from San Francisco to Houston on a dirt road, and all you see is this. Like there's no cities, no gas stations, no rest stops, just wide open expansiveness full of rocks and a few trees.
Yeah, so one of the questions that came up a couple of different times as the students were doing their research is they were noticing, geographically Djibouti's in a really important location, and that it's right there on the water. And so they were kind of wondering if it's in such an ideal location geographically, why is it that they're so poor? Why is it that they can't leverage some of that import-export business? And I mean, this gives us an idea of it right there. Like nothing grows. They're dependent on someone for everything, right?
Yeah, they're as far as natural resources are able to exploit the environment around. Yeah, there just isn't there's no valuable minerals. I mean, those rocks are just like that humus lava rock. So there's really nothing you really get out of the rock that can help you out either. So yeah, they're as far as natural resources go, they got the short end of the stick.
So their only real asset is their location at that very narrow inlet.
Yeah, that is absolutely correct.
So did you put up those power lines that are like down that road?
Yep. Yeah. So these power lines, they actually go from the main city of Djibouti, which is the capital of Djibouti is a city called Djibouti. So it goes from the main city, and these power lines go to the village we're working on. The little village is called Aliou. So there's about 25 kilometers worth of power line that goes out to service this village.
Did you guys build that then, or was it already there?
No, that was built by somebody else. We did not build that. So, more picture of the expansiveness. All right, so right next to our project site, there's actually a school, and as far as Africa standards go, this is actually a really nice school, and so it was actually kind of rewarding to actually see elementary age students actually going to school. A lot of times you just don't see that. So the kids do go to school here roughly about 5 hours a day. They're in class. They would be in school longer, but the issue is they gotta walk to school. So a lot of these kids, some of them they live in the city, so they have to walk very far. But the children that lived along the coastline, they walked roughly about 15 kilometers one way to school, and then 15 kilometers back. So you hear your parents complain that they walked uphill both ways in snow. Well, these kids walk uphill both ways in 140 degrees.
Kind of makes our 9-minute PE run look pretty sad, right?
Yeah.
That's the big thing they complain about is when they have PE and they have to do their 9-minute run.
Yeah. All right, what other ones I got here?
So, when you guys do get packages from home, what kind of things are the best that you get? Like, what do you love getting? Whether you share it or keep it for yourself, what do you love getting?
Anything really in particular. I mean, kind of probably the coolest thing I've probably ever gotten was Shelly sent me out one of those retro Nintendos.
Oh.
I got that a couple months ago, and that whatever free time I had gets completely eaten up by that thing. So that's pretty much.
Imagine that, you getting involved in a Nintendo game. Remember the hours we used to spend on the original NES playing the 1 or 2 games that Mom and Dad bought us?
Yep.
We only had 2 games. But you and I got pretty darn good at Duck Hunt.
Yep. Oh, I know. So the one I got now has those games on there, and I can still rock it. So skills didn't deteriorate.
Do you guys have any other questions for him?
Here, I guess a picture here of our actual projects that we work on. So this is the clinic we're building. This is kind of get an idea of the construction that we work on. So here we're putting on paint. This is all placed concrete. We're just painting it right now. That's a picture of the construction site. So there's actually there's 5 buildings in the town. This one right here, that's the most unfinished. That's the living quarters. So the way it works out here is nurses live at the hospital. So this is going to be their living quarters. These two, this right here and this right here, those are water cisterns. So there is a main water line that they can tap into, but they have a secondary system where they pump water into here, so that way when the electricity does go out, which is quite often, they still have running water. So right here, that's a bathroom right there. Right here, you can kind of see some the maternity ward. I'm sorry, no, this is the nursery. Maternity ward is right here. Get better picture. Right here, this is like just an example of some of the heavy equipment that we have to load around with us. It's kind of the same picture. Close up the building. Close up the cistern when we're working out there. So these back here, you can kind of see the so this site is roughly 25 miles from from the camp here in Djibouti. So during the work week, my troops actually live out there, so you can kind of see the tents back here that they're living in while they're working.
That sounds like fun.
Oh, they love it. When I have to bring them back, they get kind of get a little ugly with me a little bit because they don't want to come back.
Huh.
Or if I got to transfer them to a different project, they don't like doing it. So this is the same project on the other side. From the other direction. Like I said, here's the tents there. This thing right here, that's an incinerator. So for their medical waste, how they dispose it, they just burn it. So they burn it with their garbage. This right here is kind of interesting. That's actually their food preparation area. So since it's so hot over there, they don't have much for air conditioning. Obviously, the last thing you want to do when it's 130 degrees out is cook anything. So all their cooking spaces is open air, even for a hospital. So they pretty much, so they'll outfit this little shelter here with just some wood burning stoves, and that's how they cook all their meals.
About how many people will this serve, like capacity-wise?
So there are 3 delivery rooms. I think the nursery, how many wards? There's five wards for the nursery, and then the living quarters I think has 8 bedrooms in the living quarters. So it's a little bit different to state. So basically, you go, you have your baby, and then usually you're gone by the next day. They send you home. There's extenuating circumstances.
So once you leave, who will they find to work there, like for the nurses?
So we'll actually have this done. And so as far as getting the medical equipment, just simple things like cabinets and beds and things like that. And then as far as providing the nursing staff, that's done by the Djiboutian Ministry of Health. So when we finish the construction part of it, we'll turn this entire project over to the Minister of Health, and that department will be responsible for getting the nurses and everything lined up for us. Now, they already have the nurses lined up who's going to live here. They're just pretty much waiting for us to finish out.
So are those locals then, or do they come in from around the world?
I would assume they're probably local, but not necessarily local to the village. They might be local to the city, but not necessarily out to the village.
Yeah.
More close-up views there. Kind of the front of it a little bit. But all these, so none of these buildings have air conditioning or anything like that. They're all open air ventilation. This picture's a little bit older from where we're still, you can see where, floor tile and things in there. So that's what it looks like on the inside when it's finished.
And this is probably a whole lot better than anything that they've had access to before.
Yes. So basically, kind of the way it works now is if you're going into labor to have a child, you're doing it in your shack. So this will give this will give an opportunity for people to come, have a more sterile environment and a safer environment to have their children.
One thing that we see around here sometimes, there's a company in Iowa that makes corn bits. I want to say it's Sucut, but I can't remember. And they've started like exporting small versions of their corn cribs, like these metal corn storage units, and turn them into solar powered homes, basically, for impoverished nations. Do you see any of that in the people's homes, or what kind of homes do they live in?
So most of the people, like your average citizen, they make their homes out of whatever scraps they can find. If you ever built a fort as a kid growing up, is finding random pieces of wood. That's pretty much how they make their houses. As far as solar power goes, so I'm actually not a real big proponent of solar power out here, just because it's pretty high maintenance, and if anything breaks, you can't repair it. So solar power is actually pretty impractical out here until you get to some of the areas that are a little bit more modernized. That's kind of looks like halfway in the process. That's what it looks like before we get the paint stucco on, so it's a lot rougher. That's it. All right. So all right. So what else you guys got?
I think that's practically everything. I think that's about it. So I think we just want to say thanks for taking time out of your evening. I wasn't sure how much time we would get, and this was a nice, significant amount. It's been nice
we almost got a full hour in, so
I know.
Real good.
With no interruptions or anything.
No. I'm kind of surprised I've been gone all day, so I figured my phone's be blowing up once I got back to quasi-civilization, but are so good.
Well, we really appreciate your time and the work that you guys are doing down there, and keeping everybody, trying to increase quality of life for people, in endangered parts of the world.
Yeah. Hey, yeah, and like I said, we love sharing what we do, so we're proud of the work we do out here, and we actually love what we're doing out here too. I mean, yeah, it's kind of it's not the easiest way to make a living, but we love doing it. We wouldn't want to be doing anything else. So yeah, we're happy to have the opportunity to share with other people back home.
Thank you.
No problem. Thank you. Anytime.
Have a good night. All right. Did it actually record?
No, it's still.
Why won't it stop? Oh, there we go. Stop.